So let's talk about your first live set. Hey, what's up everybody? Matt Steinfeld, and today I want to talk about your first live set. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I recently just played my first live set. Now, this isn't the first time I've played live in terms of playing publicly or even leading maybe a group of people and singing or anything like that. It's more of my first paid gig to play in a venue. Okay, so I played recently on a terrace at a bar, and I just wanted to kind of debrief, for myself, but also just to pass along, as I have been with my other videos, just passing on information as I learn it. Of course, I'm not coming from a place of expertise, but I'm coming from a thoughtful place of something that I've just learned recently happening. So it's fresh on my mind, and it might be helpful for you. So let's just jump straight into it. Some of the things that I faced leading up to it, of course, is preparation. Now, you ideally want to play songs that you're comfortable with. And for me, playing acoustic guitar and singing, not having a band or any backing tracks or anything like that, it was fairly easy for me to kind of transition from the home or the studio into a venue because, I'm simply just playing the instrument and singing at the same time. So what you need to do is as you start to think about what you want your show to look like, whether that's you playing beats in the background with a DJ, or maybe you're DJing your own songs, or maybe you have a full band behind you, you need to know what songs you feel comfortable performing, obviously without looking at lyrics and music. I have seen some singer-songwriters playing with, maybe like a tablet or a music stand with some sheet music on it, but I don't know. I guess that's kind of up to you to decide, but I even kind of look down upon that, even if you're busking. Especially if you're playing cover songs, if you're playing songs that people know, you should know them better than the crowd. I think that's a general rule that I would go by. If you're playing cover songs, let's say at a country western bar, and everybody in the crowd knows the lyrics except for you, and you're messing them up, that's a problem. So play songs that you're comfortable with. Play songs that can fill out the amount of time that you're allotted, whether that's 30 minutes or 45 minutes or two sets of 45 minutes, or maybe you have, maybe you're playing at some restaurant from, 7 to midnight, and you have to come up with 50 songs, 60 songs to play. Of course, that scenario is different. You may be sitting in a corner with a music stand and a book of songs that's open. That's another thing. But if you're standing in front of a group on a stage and people are watching you, it's best to not have anything in front of you, which means that you don't have a net, and you basically have to be prepared. For this show, I had 2 sets of 45 minutes with about 30 minutes in between to catch kind of the late lunch and dinner crowd. So for me, that was roughly 2 sets of 13 songs. And, some people talk a lot. Some people like to explain songs or, chat with the crowd, and that's either hit or miss. Some people are really good at that, and some people aren't. Obviously, the more you talk, the less you're going to play if you have a designated amount of time that you're playing. But I'm playing, this kind of gets into another topic, but I'm playing in another country. So the dialogue and my ability to kind of chit-chat and maybe crack a joke or be sarcastic or something is a lot more difficult. So I kind of kept the chat down to a minimum and just played songs. Had a sip of water, something between songs maybe. So have your set ready. Have a very distinct set list that you know that you can execute. And if you can't, spend a couple weeks just playing those songs, listening to those songs, looking at the lyrics and listening to the songs, looking at the lyrics and playing the songs, maybe even playing along with a song. All those things help. Repetition is key. For a set list, as much as I don't think you should have music in front of you, I think it's definitely okay to have like a set list taped to, the floor in front of you, or maybe on the stool or table next to you that's holding a drink or something. I would just encourage you not to have like a tablet in front of you or some type of book or something open. It makes you look unprofessional. It makes you look unprepared. So a set list, even though a set list is just, a list of the names of the songs that you're going to play, it might even be helpful, especially if you're playing an instrument, is to put maybe what key it's in. Or if you're using a capo, what capo to put it on, and maybe what chord shape is the opening key or the opening chord. That could be really helpful too. Second, so that's leading up to actually showing up. And one of the things about playing live that's obviously different is that you have a bunch of other factors, kind of X factors, that you can't really control. And one of that is the environment, and oftentimes it's the sound equipment. So it's really important that you communicate with your venue ahead of time what you need. Okay, some ideas that maybe you haven't thought about if you haven't played a show yet is you might want a stool to sit down. You might want, let's say, a standing table that's like a couple feet off the stage to where you can maybe put a towel or a drink or, a harmonica or, whatever it is that you use, an extra microphone, I don't know, something, picks, some type of thing that you need. Maybe you need an inhaler, something, whatever it is, put it on the table that's maybe a couple feet off the stage, and make sure that stuff's there. I brought a couple clips to clip the set list to something on the stage to the right, so I could see it pretty clearly without having to pick it up and look at it and it be a distraction. I had a couple drinks up there. I brought a towel. Sometimes if I take a sip of beer or something, I can get foam on my face. So I brought a towel so I'm not spitting on people or that type of thing. Whatever it is you need, whatever you feel comfortable with, make sure that you bring that. If you need, if you're plugging in a guitar, make sure that you have like a 1/4-inch jack, or make sure that you can plug either into a box, or if you're plugging directly into a PA system, ask them what they need. Maybe they need an XLR cable or something. Maybe you have a special mic or something that you want to bring. Make sure you have the XLR cables and the 1/4-inch jacks that you need to plug in, and make sure that your electronic are plugged in. If you have an acoustic guitar, make sure like the battery in your pickup's working, because you may not be able to. It may not pick up the signal if the battery's dead, for example. Just make sure you have everything that you need, because once you get there, it's pretty scary to get there and not have what you need. Especially like if you're playing with a capo or a pick, or if you don't have a tuner or any whatever you depend upon in the house that's just readily there. Make sure you have it at the venue in case something goes wrong. Also, with the venue, you want to talk about money. Obviously, you want to have a price. Sometimes venues are pretty suave, and they'll say, "Well, what kind of money are you looking for?" With probably expectations that they're going to lowball you, especially if they get the sense that this is your first show. And you may be just fine with whatever money, it just may be practice for you, but I encourage you, as you start to play more, you'll start to get a feel for what people are paying. And, I personally, if you're playing, let's say 45 minutes, I wouldn't take anything less than what you make per hour at work, plus maybe a couple drinks and maybe the cost of the cab. If you're traveling, that's even more. You need to make sure that you're covering your gas money. You need to make sure that you're covering a hotel. You need to make sure that you're making this. It's a profitable thing, right? No one should be taking advantage of you. I kind of live in a cheaper market right now in Eastern Europe, and so things are just cheaper in general. I got, I think, 150 euros for an hour and a half of plane. So, not too bad in terms of money, but this is also, a terrace. This isn't like me playing in a theater and people are sitting there watching me play. This is more of a kind of a relaxed setting where people, some people may be watching, some people may be eating or whatever, and it's pretty chill. So it's going to be less of a concert and more of just kind of tonight's entertainment. One thing that's going to come up, especially if you're in another country or a foreign country, is they're probably, especially in Europe, they're kind of moving away from cash. And so like this bar that I was in doesn't even take cash. And so they didn't have any money on hand. And so I was under the impression, they told me that they would pay me that night. But, I needed to have a local bank account, which I didn't have. And, this place was on the up and up, but it can be awkward. It can be awkward, especially if you're not able to communicate well, and if there's expectations that aren't met on your end, or if there's expectations that aren't met on their end. So just make sure that you have it in writing. Make sure that you have maybe a written contract. And maybe even send, like this place asked me for an invoice. So I had to create an invoice saying what we agreed upon. And then the manager sent that to her supervisor to get that processed for the payment. And so that just takes extra time. Make sure you get it in writing, what it is that what you're expecting to give. 45-minute show, 1 hour show, 20-minute set, whether you're opening for somebody, or whether, you have drinks or food or a bar tab in the mix of that, because all that stuff will get left out if it's not mentioned. Another thing is this kind of X factor is the environment. Is that when you're practicing, let's say you're practicing in a studio or recording space, you're practicing in your house, it's a controlled environment. But if you're playing like on a terrace, or outside, for example, there's going to be a lot of different things. It might be windy. It may be really sunny, and you might be in direct sunlight for an hour and a half. You might get sunburned. It's important to think about this. I was on kind of the edge of a wooded deck area, and I noticed that there was like a ton of ants that were coming up from the ground. And if I hadn't moved my case and my stuff, there would probably be ants all over it. Like, just be careful of what's around you. During the set, I had an ant crawl up my arm, and I had to play a whole song with an ant crawling up my arm and biting me. And it was like, you can't even think this stuff up, but it can happen. It could rain on you. Just be prepared to roll with the punches. There's always going to be like annoying kids, unless you're at a cover bar or something like that. There's going to be noisy kids, and depending on what country you are in, parents are strict or not strict. The country that I'm in, parents are not strict. And so there were some kids kind of running around, and younger kids. You may have some people that are sitting at a table that are having a really good time, and they're loud and they're hollering, and maybe it's hard to hear yourself over them, especially if you're turned down pretty low, or maybe they're giving you flack, or they're heckling you or whatever. It's important to realize, not to be scared of it, but just to be aware that this type of stuff happens. We're not in our controlled environment at home, and something may happen, and that you need to be able to roll with that. several things happened while I was playing. Some really loud people, kids, ants. The wind was blowing. The PA system was different than I was expecting. Some of these places, they have very, very primitive PA systems. And if you're used to playing in a studio on nice monitors and having your pedals and all your effects going into your DAW and all that, it may sound really thin or really unprofessional if you weren't prepared to bring outboard gear like a pedal or something like that. So if you're plugging straight into, let's say, like, two PA speakers that are connected, if you're just plugging directly into that, it may not have the sound or the tone that you're looking for. And they may not even know what's going on. Some of these places don't even have sound people. And most of the restaurants probably don't. They maybe have a tech guy that knows about wires and knows about how to hook it up. But most places don't have a sound guy. So you're going to have to show up early and turn knobs and figure out and dial in that type of thing. That was the case for me, and I wasn't prepared for that, but it all worked out, and I figured it out, but, that's one of those things. Another thing to think about too is that you may have a rowdy crowd or maybe people getting into it, but you may also have some people that are really loving the music, and, a lot of these people are having a good time. They're drinking a lot and whatnot. I mean, there was this one guy and he was sitting at a table with, a bunch of foreign guys, and I thought they were Russian, but they ended up being Ukrainian. But I kind of said some words in Russian to them that I knew, just to make them feel special. They were cheering for me. They were getting into it. They're having shots and stuff, and it was an encouragement to me. They were clapping, so I was trying to talk to them as much as I could. Which is not a lot. But one of those guys ended up, maybe it's because he had too much to drink, but I was having dinner at a table, and he came up to me and he gave me €100. That's $120 just for, he was like, kind of said in broken English, like, he said something like, Ukraine loves America or something like that. But it was really nice. I mean, that was almost as much as I made for playing at the show. But just expect, stuff may go wrong, but also maybe expect someone to really just make your night like that. Several people, I didn't think it was the greatest show that I ever did or the greatest session of the songs that I ever did compared to what I was practicing. But several people came up and said they enjoyed it, and, that was a ton of fun to hear that. Overall, I messed up a couple songs. Especially if they're your own songs and you're just starting out, people aren't gonna know the difference. And, I try to practice enough to where, I've heard the phrase, like, you don't practice till you get it right. You practice till you can't get it wrong. And I know that sounds kind of cliche, but I want to be able to play my songs and feel comfortable with them and play, 13, maybe, 45 minutes, 47 minutes, I think it was. And then, play another 13 songs. So 26 songs, that sounds like a lot. But really, it's roughly just kind of 2 albums worth. It's probably just like an hour and a half of music. And I'll tell you this. Before, I did a post about busking, which really kind of set me on this trajectory of playing at this show. I was feeling nervous about playing live, and so that's when I started going busking to kind of get the jitters out and get used to being in an unknown environment with a lot of different variables. So the busking helped, but when I started busking, I was thinking, a lot of buskers just kind of play 2 or 3 songs and then they just repeat them because they're constantly getting people walk past that aren't the same people, so it's not repetitive. But the more I started thinking about that, like, wow, how can I play for an hour straight? How could I don't know that many songs. And it's really interesting how over time it just got easier and easier. You know 2 songs, and 3, then 4, and then a couple weeks later, 10, and then, it just stacks on top of each other. And the thing about practice and the thing about rehearsing And any megastar will tell you this. Before they go on world tours, they spend months rehearsing where they're going to be on stage, where they transition, what songs get played, and how those songs play off each other and make it the most entertaining and make it the best show. But rehearsal is so important. If you get up there and you're not ready and you don't know exactly what you're going to do, you don't feel comfortable with it, you're going to mess it up. And I wouldn't say that I was 100% prepared. I still felt uncertain about some things, but I'd been practicing and rehearsing, an hour for every day for like the last 3 or 4 weeks. So I knew the songs well, and overall it did okay. We did okay, but I did mess up some of the songs. But I don't think anybody knew the difference because they weren't necessarily paying attention, or they were paying attention, or they had been drinking, or they were paying attention and they didn't know the song. And for my case, some of my new songs, I may have flubbed a word on accident, but they didn't know my song because it's my song and I'm not famous. So it all works out. It's overall, the overall thing I would suggest, if I could tell myself this, a couple days ago, with the knowledge, is, have everything that you can control, have everything that you can control controlled, and be very open about the other things. That's weather, that's kids, that's hecklers, that's the PA system. You kind of just have to adapt. And if you're going to play a bunch of shows and maybe travel and tour, this may be the case as well. It's not all big glitz and glamorous. It's usually just showing up at a club or a venue, or maybe a small little theater, and hoping that someone's there that you can connect with, and hoping that they know how to set things up, and especially if you're not bringing your own, equipment or speakers or whatnot. But it's a tremendous way to get exposure, especially if you're able to perform in front of people live, like if you're playing keys or whatnot. If you're a producer or if you're a DJ, a DJ set is huge. Tons and tons of places in Europe are looking for DJs to play at restaurants and whatnot. And it's a very transferable thing to do. So if you're a DJ, singer-songwriter, 1-man, 2-man, 3-man band, I really encourage you to get out there and play. If you're a rapper, it's a little bit harder to do that at a place that's a restaurant. That's kind of more of a concert, show, theater type thing. But I would think, but if not, find a way to get out there. It's great practice. It's great fun. You learn a ton. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions about something that you've been thinking about. Maybe you're getting ready for your first show. Maybe you're thinking about it. Maybe you're like me 4 months ago, just completely terrified of what that would look like to play for an hour with no net, with no, backup. I encourage you that taking small steps towards that, thinking through these things, is really, really helpful in preparing your mind to do it. But let me know in the comments what you think. If you've played some shows, if you can offer any advice to anybody that's watching this, that would be a big help. Let me know what you think. Any questions, comments are welcome. And I encourage you, get out there. Find a local venue. The way I found this local venue for me to play was I was at this place that I get drinks at sometimes. And I basically just asked the bartender. I said, "Hey, summer's coming up. Are you guys looking for anybody to play?" And she was like, "Yes, we are. What's your email? Let me listen to some of your music." I sent in, a link to my music on Spotify. And sometimes they ask for a demo. But it fit what they were looking for. And she may have said, this is not what we're looking for. We're looking for maybe some more rock stuff or electronic music, DJ stuff, but it just happened to work out. And that's usually how it works. You just ask around, and if anybody is interested, they'll ask for your music. You be professional. You come up with terms on time. You get all your expectations sorted. Get everything in paper. Get prepared to show up and to play, and you do it. Keep an open mind. It's good fun. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching, and as always, we'll see you again next time.